In today's episode of the Motorhome Matt Podcast,
we're unpacking different motorhome layouts and the benefits of each.
In the news, have your say through the Camping and Caravanning Club's owner satisfaction survey.
And we answer your questions on EU breakdown recovery, beginners' do's and don'ts, and levelling ramps.
Welcome to the Motorhome Matt Podcast. I'm Keith Gooden.
And I'm Motorhome Matt.
Industry insights and expert advice for the world of motorhomes, caravans and camper vans. And it's brought to you by thatleisureshop.com.
Now remember, please do follow on your favourite podcast app and subscribe on YouTube. Brought to you by arabasecreative.co.uk.
In the news today, the Camping and Caravanning Club have launched their 2025 Owner Satisfaction Survey. And it's your chance to have your say on your favourite brands. If you've owned a tent, folding camper or awning from new, or a new or pre-owned caravan or motorhome since January 2021, then you can fill out the survey at myccc.co.uk/owner satisfaction. What is that address again, Matt?
It is myccc.co.uk/owner satisfaction.
Tell us about Motorhome Matt Approved then, Matt.
Absolutely, yeah. This is our brand new project, which is going great guns. These are brands, businesses, products and services that I've personally used or had first-hand positive experience of, and that I commend them to you, the listener. I'm regularly getting asked, who do I go to for my tracker, or who do I recommend for motorhome finance? And these are brands on this directory which I can commend to you. And we've got some newbies that have joined us.
We have GPS Bob, Motorhome Finance from Creative Funding Solutions, and our local friends just round the corner, Bailey of Bristol.
Yeah, we're very warm welcome to all of you. And I have to say, special welcome to Bailey, because they are a brand that are exceptional at investing in their team, creating a vision and values that everyone buys into, and they are a truly passionate bunch. I've been really impressed from working with them recently, and so I commend all these brands to you. So if you are looking for finance, Creative are there. You can find out more about GPS Bob and their product offering, and of course more about Bailey of Bristol.
So if somebody wants to visit Motorhome Matt Approved, where do they go?
Easy, mhmp.info/approved.
There you go. It's the Motorhome Matt Podcast. I'm Keith Gooden.
And I'm Motorhome Matt.
And it's brought to you with thatleisureshop.com. The main part of the podcast this week is about motorhome layouts. And Matt, you're going to explain them to us. So What determines a layout?
Well, generally it's a type of configuration inside, so normally led by the beds. So the beds are kind of the biggest piece of furniture in any motorhome. So whether it's a double bed, single bed, bunk bed, and we'll unpack all this in a bit more detail in a moment, but that generally determines the type of layout, and they get nicknamed accordingly.
Right, I'm with you. So what are the most common types?
In recent years, the most popular certainly have become the island bed, where you walk either side of the bed, so it's like walking into a hotel room. Yeah, so it should really be called a peninsular bed, because the head of it is fixed to the back wall.
Yeah,
that makes a motorhome much longer, but it's a really comfortable sleeping area. And one of the things I love about an island bed motorhome is they're generally divided from the lounge by the bathroom. So across the middle is the bathroom and the shower, and it means you confine getting dressed and undressed, and all your clothes and everything else to the bedroom, and all your living stuff to the lounge area. When we're away in a motorhome which is far more open plan, our stuff is everywhere. I don't know why. We just seem to have pants and socks in the front seats. It's all going on. Whereas with a bedroom, a dedicated bedroom area, we tend to be a lot neater. And it is a very, very comfortable layout, but a longer motorhome layout typically.
And an island bed, I suppose, means you don't have to crawl over your partner or whoever in bed to get to the toilet in the middle of the night. Very important for middle-aged men, incidentally.
It absolutely is, yeah. And that's where different beds become so important. So Yeah, single beds are a big merit when you'll think, oh yeah, I'm going to be getting up at night, and you don't want to be waking the other person up in doing so. So that's where a rear lounge that makes into single beds can be a real merit, or fixed single beds can also be a benefit.
Right, so what different sorts of beds can you get then?
Blimey, well, let's run through a few. So transverse, you mentioned, where you have to climb over each other, where you've got a bed across the back, so one of you is climbing over the other to get out. Rear bunk beds. Typically like kids would sleep in. A dinette bed, so this is like a railway carriage layout of seats, so 2 face forward, 2 face backwards, and that makes into a bed. That's called a dinette, and that makes into a bed. A drop-down bed. Now, this is a fairly recent innovation where the bed goes right up into the ceiling. You press a button or pull the handle, and the bed drops down over the lounge area.
That's a good idea.
A really clever innovation, yeah. Quite heavy, so can have an impact on payload. That can be a consideration for this.
And I suppose you've got the motorhome's got to be taller, has it? Because it takes up space, doesn't it?
Yes, so some motorhomes, that's a really valid point. Some motorhomes with a drop-down bed have a very low ceiling height, but there are a number who have remarkably high ceiling heights when the bed is up in the ceiling. So that's certainly something to test. Is go and stand under one when it's up in the ceiling, and if you're 6'6", you may be banging your head. We've then got French beds. So this is a rear double bed where the corner is cut off and it's in back corner of the motorhome. And they're called French beds because they were launched for the French motorhome market many years ago. And it just adopted the term French bed. And they are a very, very comfortable double bed. People often worry that their feet are going to fall out of the bed because the corner's cut off. I've slept in a number of them, and that's never happened for me. It's odd. I seem to stay in the bed.
Yeah, but you're a shorty, a bit like me, aren't
I'm
you?
not that
like
short.
You said, if you're 6'6", you are.
Yeah, then that would be an issue. Yeah, you want to be on the side. I'm not sleeping with you. You want to be on the side where the corner isn't cut off if you're 6'6". You might have a lounge bed, so a rear lounge. So at the back of the motorhome is a great big lounge area, and that makes up into a bed, either single beds or a big double bed. And then we've got an overcab bed, so often called a Luton bed. I think it's a British term for a Luton van.
So that's the bit, isn't it, over the driver and passenger cab?
That's right.
You see them on removal trucks as well. Or as we used to call them when I was growing up, pantechnicons. You never hear that anymore.
No, you don't. Yeah, that's
but
true.
the Luton bit is the bit above the cab, so it's extra space you can crawl into. You mentioned that a few podcasts ago and said that you actually used to feel quite claustrophobic in that one.
Yeah, we had one and I didn't like it at all. I think it's a great place for kids, but for adults it's a challenge. And often in a bunk bed motorhome, there's bunk beds at the rear, and it comes with an overcab bed, or Luton bed as it gets called, and it's the endeavour is that the adults are up in the overcab bed. It's not a place I like to sleep. And then of course you go into the camper van market, you've got rock and roll beds where you've got the seats that fold flat to form the double bed, and then you have a pop top bed as well where the roof pops up, and these have been popular on camper vans, so VW type product or Ford Transit
for decades.
For years, long time. And now we're seeing them on coach-built motorhomes, which is fascinating. So they pop up, giving you an extra bed in the roof space. And it's only in the last few years that we've seen manufacturers, European manufacturers, start to do this, and now British manufacturers following suit as well.
So just remind me, which sort of beds give me more garage space?
So generally a fixed bed, I would say. So look at an island bed, a French bed. Sometimes they're lower, so that compromises the garage space in height. Single beds, if they're up high, again you get a big garage at the back, which is ideal for putting bicycles in, or a transverse double bed where you're climbing over each other. They are the types of layouts that give you the most garage space. There are some exceptions, as there always is, but those fixed bed layouts give you maximum garage space.
And we've already mentioned your head height for the drop-down beds, haven't we? And talked about the pop-top beds. Now, you've mentioned to me before you can't camp incognito. Why would you want to do that?
Well, if you want to be a little bit covert under the radar, and you've got a great big diagonal roof sticking out the top, it's pretty obvious you're a camper van, isn't it?
Yeah. Why would you want to be covert and under the radar?
Well, it depends where you're parking. I've got a customer years ago. I bet he couldn't do this now, but he had a van, and he would go into London, and his son sang in the Westminster choir, and so he would go to Westminster Cathedral every other weekend to see his son and park on Parliament Square in his motorhome and sleep there in his van, and it looked like a van. I bet you couldn't get away with it now, but he said, I've been doing it for months. What a brilliant idea. Kept quiet, and it was covert. Whereas he was doing that in a VW van with a pop roof, he'd have been clocked, wouldn't he?
Now, overhead and bunk beds are great for families. You mentioned that. Dinette beds tend to feature in motorhomes with more belts. Can you explain that?
So if you need 6 seat belts, I'm a father of 4, so we need a motorhome with 6 seat belts, although the kids increasingly don't want to come with us anymore. But you would need to look at a motorhome with a dinette layout, so where you've got that kind of railway carriage feel. It's not really a lounging space because the seats are fixed, but it means you've got 2 forward-facing seat belts, 2 rearward-facing seat belts, and it converts into a double bed. The disadvantage with that is there's usually less room in it. So the classic mistake people make when they want to hire a motorhome is, oh, we want the biggest you've got. Let's have a 6 berth. There's only 3 of us. They think, well, you're going to have less room because it's more furniture. So if you don't need 6 belts, don't go for a motorhome with a double dinette, because they're not very lounging, they're not very relaxing, they are for dining, they're for sitting up, and they're travelling seats. So if you need 6 belts, you would have to probably go for a double dinette layout.
So just explain about rock and roll beds again, would you?
Yeah, so in a VW camper van, these have been prolific for years. You've got the rear seat with 2 or 3 seat belts in it, and you pull the bottom forward and it folds flat into a double bed. Not very wide, but double enough for certainly 2 kids, if not 2 adults, small adults. And it's just called a rock and roll bed. I don't really know why. It's just a term that they've been given.
Now, certain manufacturers, try to make it a bit easier with the model names, don't they?
They do. Many don't, though, I have to say. One of the branding conventions or model conventions that one manufacturer in particular does help is Adria. So I've always found their layout convention names really easy to access. Once you understand them, it's great. So SC is an island bed, SL single beds, SP is a transverse bed, and of course these letters don't bear any correlation to our English language because they're made in Slovenia. So it's just a code, but once you've cracked the code, you start to get an idea of the layout. So if it says SC on it, you know it's going to be an island bed.
Right. If it says SC, you know it's going to be an island bed.
On an Adria.
On an Adria.
Then you get into brands like Rapido and Pilot, and it's just numbers and letters, and it's like a randomizer. I'm sure they just make them up.
Yeah, they should call it the Prostate and the Thunderer and
the Prostate.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to sell well.
You have to get up in the middle of the night. So.
Okay, yeah. 2 single beds. Yeah, probably that's a good name for it.
The Prostate. So a fixed bed, big waste of space, isn't it? In my head, you see, as somebody new to this industry, it's a waste of space. You can just fill the thing up.
There are 2 groups of people that buy into that, in my experience. Typically, people who've never had a motorhome before, they walk in and see the big fixed double bed and think, goodness, what a waste of space. Or people who've come at motorhoming from a caravan. And in a caravan, you generally have to make up the bed. But in recent years, fixed beds have become far more commonplace in caravans. I think a fixed bed is wonderful because you spend the most time in bed, don't you? You think what you're going to do one thing for 8 hours, it's lie down and sleep. So having the fixed bed means you can be out walking, cycling, climbing, sailing, I don't know, whatever you're doing. And then you come back to the motorhome, you haven't got the faff of moving all the cushions around and playing Tetris with your sofa. You just get straight into bed and comfort straight away. We have a little Adria twin, which is 6 meters long, and the back third is a fixed bed. And we love it. You just get into bed, it's done. And you get up, and we've got a small lounge. We do spend quite a bit of time outside of the van. So, we don't need a big living area. And I'll take it anywhere. I'll go anywhere in it. A fixed bed is often perceived to be a waste of space. My advice is try one before you dismiss it.
So how do you know which is the best layout for you?
Well, it's going to be practice, and practice is going to make perfect. I know people that are on their 4th or 5th motorhome and they still haven't found their kind of what they believe is going to be their forever motorhome. In fact, I'm not sure one exists. But it is about trying as many as possible. I always recommend you try before you buy, particularly these days, because there's such a lot of money to buy, yet hire rates haven't really followed suit by going up in price quite as much. And yes, hiring isn't cheap, but it could save you thousands of pounds if you made a mistake. So, go and try one and learn about the layout, learn that works best for you.
And how do you want to sleep?
That's my first starting point. How do you want to sleep? Do you want to sleep together? Do you want to sleep where you're not climbing over one another? Do you want to sleep separately? And I thought sleeping in an overcab bed would be fine. It was horrible. Hated it. I didn't know that until I tried it. So I should have hired first. And that was a big mistake. So trying before you buy is critical, I think.
Do dealers ever offer you to come and sleep in something on the forecourt or something.
spend being overnight.
You can do it with hot tubs, can't you?
Overnight
Before
security.
you buy a hot tub.
Really? What, spend the night in a hot
So you
tub?
don't spend the night, no, but you can go along and do some hot tub.
Have a splash. Yeah, but a hot tub's easy, surely. It's just getting in a big bath.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Well, a motorhome's easy, isn't it? It's just getting in a big van.
It's very different to being in a house, though, isn't it? Because you're in a confined space and you don't know how you're going to live in it. That's the thing. And there are loads of other considerations in terms of best layout and which works best for you. How many of you are there is the first factor as well. So how do you want to sleep? How many seatbelts do you need? That's a critical criteria that you can't easily change unless you leave your least favourite child behind. And then when you're going to do it. So if you're going to go away a lot through the winter, then you're going to spend a lot more time in the motorhomes. Having a big roomy lounge is going to be really important. If you're going to go away mostly in the summer and you think, well, we're going to spend a lot of time in Spain, you're hardly going to be in the motorhome, only to sleep and use the loo. So the other thing to try is toilets. When we're talking about loos, go and sit on them. Try it, because they all don't actually use it.
Did you say sit?
Yeah. I did say sit, and with the lid down. Just behave.
Yes.
You will not be the dealer's friend if you actually use it, believe me. I've been that dealer at a show and go, oh, what? Really? So sit on it and see how comfortable it is. How much leg space is there? Can you actually move around? Can you put your knees where you want them to be? These are all things you don't know until probably too late you bought it. So, be practical when you're looking around at motorhomes and go and sit and try as many as possible.
So if you've got any tips that you want to share with us, then please get in touch. We'll give you some more details of how to get in touch in just a few minutes' time. It is the Motorhome Matt Podcast. I'm Keith Gooden.
And I'm Motorhome Matt.
Let's do the Q&A, the questions and answers, where you ask the questions and Matt will answer them to the best of his expert knowledge. If he doesn't know, he'll find somebody who does. Robert's in Lutterworth.
Hi, this is Robert in Lutterworth in South Leicestershire. We're travelling to France in the latter part of July, and I'm looking for European breakdown recovery, and particularly for a service that will recover an 8-metre motorhome at 3,850 kilos, and that this will fit on and or be recovered by the appropriate services they use. So just thinking about doing that research, whether you've got any advice on who is most likely to be able to cope with that if the worst happens. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Robert. He's in Lutterworth, which is, as you heard him say, in Leicestershire. So, Matt, what's the answer?
Well, I use RAC only because they have a specific product called RAC Arrival, which is designed for motorhomes that are over 7 metres long and over 3.5 tonnes. To gain access to it, you have to join the Camping and Caravanning Club, get a code, and then contact the RAC with the code, and they will allow you to become an RAC Arrival member. I've been a member for, 30 odd years. The membership cards are white, and I once broke down in Lincolnshire in a 10-ton Winnebago. The rear axle had to be split for me to be dragged back, and they brought it back on a spec lift through the night. I reckon it cost them about £2,500 to get me home, and this was a long time ago as well, a lot more than that now, and it cost me nothing, only my annual membership, and it cost the RAC probably £2 or £3 grand. So it covers me for my car or cars, it covers me on a motorbike, and it covers me in any type of motorhome. So anything I'm driving, they'll recover it. You bolt on European cover, and they will cover you and repatriate you back to the UK. But remember, if you break down on the equivalent of a motorway in France, you will have to pay to be taken off the motorway by a private contractor. The RAC or its agent in France are not allowed to come and rescue you from the motorway. It's a chargeable service that local region will supply, and you have to pay them.
Andy and Ruth Clark are in Totnes, which is in Devon. Hi, Matt. We're a complete newbies going to the big show at the NEC this October, but wondering any beginners' do's and don'ts. Should we even buy new? We're looking along the lines of a panel van conversion, a Fiat Ducato or similar, trying to figure out the best heating, toilet, battery needs. It's such a lot to think about. Where do we even start? And by the way, Matt, they love the podcast.
Thank you, guys. Love it. Gosh, that's a massive question. I think we've done some content on this in the past, haven't we? A long time ago.
Very recently.
Buying at a show. Definitely wear comfortable shoes. So some practical advice first on going to a show. I would consider going for 2 days, if not 3. So you can take your time. Do your research before you go. Look at all the exhibitors that are there and look at the ones you think you want to see, and be open-minded. Walk around with your eyes open. Keep looking up for others that you've never heard of that might catch your eye. Comfy shoes are a must. I would definitely take a bag or a wheeled trolley because we're an industry that loves brochures, and you're probably going to collect loads of them. And take a packed lunch as well, because the catering is blooming expensive at the NEC. So take a sandwich. One of the things to note as well, really important when you're buying a motorhome or talking to a dealer about buying a motorhome at a show, the stands are manned by dealers from across the country. So the manufacturer pays for the stand, and then they bring their dealers in. They charge them to come on the stand. But you could be talking to somebody who is from Scotland, and where do you guys live? You live in Lutterworth, so not too far away.
No, they're in Totnes.
In Totnes, sorry, yeah. So great example. You could be talking to the dealer in Scotland who will want to sell you a motorhome, and that's a long way to go to get it. And after you've bought it, as we've talked about recently, you're probably going to have to take it back there to have the warranty work done or any servicing done. So it's a big consideration. Who am I buying from? Ask them. Tell the dealer or the person on the stand where you live, and they will work with you to find a dealer who's on the stand from your nearby area. And it might be there isn't one. So it might be that you don't buy at the show, but you go to that agent who's near you, because not all the dealers want to go to the show because it is expensive, in hotel costs, food and so on. It is expensive for a dealer to go. So that's how the stands work. Many people forget this, but I would definitely go open-minded and go in as many as possible. Ignore the screen price, just go in, open and close cupboards, open and close the bathroom door, bounce up and down on the seat cushions, lie on the bed, kick your shoes off, have a lie down, sit on the toilet seat, and the dealer will not mind at all. It gets really busy at the show, particularly the end of the week. So going earlier in the week, get there as early as you can, and it's quieter then. In the middle of the week is also very quiet. So typically the show runs from Tuesday to Sunday. Wednesday and Thursday are the quieter days. So you can do this Saturday and Sunday, buggy wars and massive queues to get in them. So yeah, that would be my top tips.
So what you also need to do is make sure you take lots of photographs, and like Matt says, get in there, have a feel, have a chat, lie on things, sit on things. Alison Craft is in Edinburgh. I'm collecting my first motorhome later this month. It's a Fiat Ducato conversion. She says, I'm getting various items I know I'll need. One of the things is levelling ramps, but there are a lot to choose from, and I'm at a loss as to where to start. How do I pick the right ones for me? First of all, Matt, what is a levelling ramp?
So these are plastic ramps that you drive on. They normally are sold in pairs, so you can get the motorhome level on the campsite.
And you don't want 4 of them, do you?
Well, no, because then you'd end up where you started, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. So the whole point of a levelling ramp, you're adjusting the level at which the motorhome is sitting. Yeah. So you get a packet of 2. Now, she says she's a bit bewildered. Alison says she's bewildered by the choice.
Yeah.
So can you help?
Alison, you've said you've got a Fiat Ducato. You haven't said how long it is. So the longer and bigger the motorhome is, the bigger the ramps you might want to consider. So you'll see the Fiamma ones in pretty much every camping and accessory shop. We sell them at thatleisureshop.com and in the store as well at That Leisure Shop. They're normally yellow, and the yellow ones are just a smooth diagonal that you can drive on very easily. The grey ones are stepped. Now, these are much easier if you're on your own. So if there are 3 positions, 3 levels, and you can drive on, and the motorhome kind of rests in the step, meaning that if you're on your own, you get to the 3rd position, stop, because you're going to drive over the top. There are also brands like Malenko, and they make jumbo ramps. They're huge, great big black things, and they're ideal for much bigger motorhomes. So really, it's about the size of the van and how high you need to get it off the ground. A Fiat Ducato is going to be probably 6 metres long, I'm guessing, or 5.5 metres long plus. You'll probably want to look at the Fiamma ones. For a VW one, Fiamma make a smaller one, which is ideal for a VW. But worth noting, even on a flat pitch, a motorhome is always nose down, because that's just how the chassis is built. It's for driving efficiency through the air and so on. And regularly on a flat pitch, you will still see the front wheels on ramps just to level up.
Right. Can you use them on grass?
Of course, yeah. If it's really muddy, they are going to sink.
Yeah.
I've dug a few out of the ground in the past. And you can also buy a little grip track, it's called, that clips onto the bottom of the ramp so you can drive up and down onto it. Because if the grass is really wet, the tyres are going to spin just trying to get onto the ramp.
Yeah, and you're going to need a spirit level as well, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Or gin and tonic, keep it level.
Okay, then, how do people get in touch then, Matt?
Dead easy. If you've got a question, we'd love to hear it. Go to mhmp.info/ask Matt, hit the orange button or fill out the form, and we'll include your question in the podcast.
If you fancy some YouTube, what can you do?
Head to YouTube and please do click subscribe and the little bell, and then YouTube will tell you when a new episode is released. Sponsored by aerobasecreative.co.uk.
And it's only fair if you feel like a share. What do you do?
Please do. If you think someone else you know would benefit or enjoy this podcast, please send them a link to it, and we'd love to add them to our growing audience, which is getting bigger and bigger by the week, isn't it?
Yes.